Everybody, peace. Welcome to STBY Basketball Show. Wherever or however you're listening, we're so great to have you here with us. As you guys know, I'm Sean Cottle, and today's show, guys, we are going to be recapping a bit of NBA All Star Weekend, primarily with the All Star festivities that occurred on Saturday, and we're also going to be discussing the biggest storyline aside from the Kevin Durant stuff. The biggest storyline coming out of All Star Weekend, and that is whether the slam dunk contest can be fixed. Should it be fixed, or should it just be done away with for now? And we're not going to waste any time, guys. We're going to get right into it. But if you haven't already, guys, be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content that we post daily. And if you'd like to gain exclusive content from here over at Sorry to Bother You, you can do so by going to patreon.com, clicking on the search bar, typing in Sorry to Bother You. That way you can gain access to all of our exclusive content that we post daily, as well as all of our links will be in the description below. That way you can click on it. But with that being said, guys, let's go to get right into it. Like I said, guys, a lot of storylines. Our biggest storyline coming out of NBA All Star Weekend was the NBA Slam Dunk Contest, due for its lackluster performance and due to its lack of entertainment. And I want to break this down piece by piece. So I actually want to do what I do first. I want to start with actually the 3-point contest, and then move forward to slam dunk contest. So while watching the 3-point contest this weekend, there was something interesting that popped into my mind. And it occurred to me just spur of the moment, and that was how much lights and how bright everything was, and how it felt like my attention was trying to be drawn towards those, like I said, towards the lights and towards the bright flashiness of even of the balls and of the logo threes. I could feel my attention being taken away from the actual basketball itself in terms of the 3-point shooting. And I watched the 3-point contest this weekend, and then I decided to go back and watch old 3-point contest videos, even dating back to 2016 and 2017. And there's such a stark difference between the simplicity of the 3-point contest in comparison to what it is now, in terms of having the money ball rack, which is a concept I enjoy. I like it. But like the logo threes draw too much attention drawn away from the basketball itself, from the artistry of the players shooting, which is why the event was created in the first place, to highlight and to showcase the artistry and the talent that these players and these artists have. And this attempt to be more flashy and to have more bright lights and to create spectacle is taking away from the actual content of the 3-point contest and all-star festivities overall as itself. And if you this is actually a congruency with how basketball is being played today, specifically in the NBA. We have the logo 3-pointers and like the money ball rack, and so you're naturally going to get more points when you compete in this event. That doesn't make the event better. Prior to the money ball racks and having the logo 3-pointers and things like that, the highest score you would get, or a high score, a very, very great score, would be in the mid 20s and even the high 20s, possibly 30. Like, that was a fantastic score. And it made things more exciting because it actually decreased the number of opportunities you had. And so, for example, when Kyrie Irving won the 3-point contest, I believe back in 2016 or 2015, if I'm wrong about that, one of you guys correct me, he won it with a score of 24. But he had a great shooting performance in that final round. And that's when they first implemented the money ball rack. And then you look at the performance this weekend. Damian Lillard shot great, and Devin Booker shot great too. Don't get it twisted, guys. I'm not saying these players didn't shoot great. They did. However, we don't need the gimmicks, and we don't need these these auxiliary and concepts of like a logo three or even really a money ball rack, because you can see the art within these guys' craft just when they shoot the ball. You can tell Devin Booker was shooting the ball great. You can tell Con Knipple was shooting the ball great. You can tell Damian Lillard was shooting the ball great. Even Donovan Mitchell. And the points are inflated because of the money ball rack and the logo threes, but that doesn't mean the content is. That doesn't make the content better. It actually takes away from it. And for the 3 point contest, I think they could do away with the logo threes and even really the money ball rack, um, because the the artistry is great enough in itself to carry that performance or carry that event. Was the event still entertaining to watch? Yes. However, the things that occurred within the 3 point contest is a representation of really what basketball has become in the NBA. A lot of gimmick and a lot of glitz and glamour, and that takes away sometimes from the actual artistry and the content itself of the game. And don't get me wrong, just in terms of basketball, I'm gonna go macro level now. This is the most talent I've seen in the NBA in a very long time, and as someone who watched a lot of regular season games, the regular season games have been intense for the most part compared to previous seasons. Uh, However, there's going to be some drastic change that needs to be fixed, and I'll leave it at that. But that was my analysis for the NBA 3 point contest. And as we start to transition over to the slam dunk contest, the slam dunk contest has a different issue in and of itself in terms of having uh, trouble and having the inability to draw in star players, all-star level players, to this contest. And so people like to say, okay, well, the all stars need to get back into the slam dunk contest. However, there was there was never truly a moment where there would be multiple all stars competing in the slam dunk contest. This event has always been about young up and coming stars competing in this contest, and then this contest kind of elevating them to that next status within the basketball world. And perhaps there has to be a better job done in terms of choosing which players are going to compete in this event. And maybe we have to move towards choosing players that are on the trajectory of possibly being an all-star. Guys that have uh, a cult of personality, and guys that can draw in the ratings, uh, for lack of better words. And if you don't agree with that concept, then the next concept is to perhaps bring in the all stars. However, I don't believe that the all star level players are incentivized enough to compete in this event. We have, with the way social media has been constructed, and everyone automatically looks at your lowlights, and everyone is constantly nitpicking at the things you do wrong. I can understand why all stars might not want to compete in this event, but the thought process and the mindset is different as it was today compared to a couple years ago. The guys don't want to compete because they're worried about being scrutinized, but that comes with the territory of being an all-star level player. And I don't have the exact numbers on what the incentives are for winning the NBA Slam Dunk contest. If one of you guys know, then you can guys please feel free to chime in. But there has to be a large enough incentive, whether financially or in terms of notoriety. The All-Star players have to get something out of competing in this event. But that lack of competition is also kind of a microcosm of not just basketball, but kind of like our generation in and of itself. Um, and there's no question that we aren't as mentally strong and not as our previous generations in terms of handling adversity. And this is just a representation of that. There's all, and we talked about this before 3 years ago on this show during the 2023 All-Star Weekend, and there's a lack, there's a sense of entitlement that comes with these. Not all the players, but with certain players. But one positive note that I will say is that the actual All-Star game was much more exciting. And so I do love that, 3 years ago, I was, guys, give a big shout out to Dre, my co host, Dre Pennington. Um, I have, I'm not going to share the news, but Dre has been blessed these last couple of days. But yeah, but Dre brings us a good point. He says, I hate that we pay them to play in a game that could promote them. Yeah, yeah, it used to be a huge blessing. Guys used to look at it as an honor just to step on an NBA court, um, and that kind of like ties back into the sense of entitlement that we discussed earlier. That wasn't there 20, 15 years ago. Guys were happy to be on the court, and like Dre says, that players should be using that opportunity to be on the court to promote themselves, and so they should use that and look at that as an opportunity to expand their brand. Each time you step on the court, each time you get in front of a camera, use it with intention and use it to expand your brand, because your body is a business, and how you take care of it and how you use it, how you promote it, that's going to determine your success. And with the actual All-Star game format, I was a bit hesitant with how it worked, but I was extremely impressed with the turnout in terms of the competitive nature. Um, 3 years ago, I was saying that it needs to go back to the East and West format, and that there's too many changes being made. And so, because there's so many changes, there's no consistency. And because there's no consistency, it's hard for the fans to get accustomed to something. And so, there's no almost like intrinsic emotional connection because there's no consistency, which is why the All-Star Weekend has been struggling as of late. But I will say that this new format I'm thoroughly impressed with. I think this format, as in my perspective, is better than the pickup style format that they have been using for the past couple years. I like this format much better, and so I would be completely okay with the NBA sticking to this. Um, Dre and I actually need to do a podcast on this, because Dre is our NBA and men's college basketball expert, so we need to get his analysis on this also. But people were saying that the slam dunk contest needs to be done away with, or it needs to be put on the shelf for a couple years. I don't think that's the solution to it. The solution needs to be more on a micro level, and looking at what do we do, or as a player, what do I need to do in order to make the content better? Because not only are the people that watch basketball talking about or criticizing the slam dunk contest, but the players themselves are also criticizing it. But if you're not a part of the solution, then you're a part of the problem. And so, as an NBA player, maybe all-star level player, who was in the NBA and actually wants to make a change for the slam dunk contest, then I would use it as an opportunity to expand your brand and to add this to your resume and use it to fix the event. But also, we do have to understand that life is very circular and it's fluid in terms of the rhythm and the cadence of it. So people have to understand this isn't the first stretch that the NBA had where there was consecutively below average performances in the slam dunk contest. Um, I think we're so enraptured with the fact that the early 2000s uh, up into 2009 2010 was filled with spectacular slam dunk contests. But we have to remember there was a stretch in the early 2010s, really all throughout the 2010s, except for 2016. That was really the only spectacular um, slam dunk contest that I can remember. There's great moments in between each event, but in totality, great events. The last ones I can truly remember from the 2010s was really 2016. So, this concept of the slam dunk contest having been in a poor state is nothing new. It happened in great point, Dre. Great point. It happened in the 70s. Had low moments in the 80s as well. 90s also had low moments as well. And Dre also brought up a good point that nostalgia is killing the dunk contest, and perhaps nostalgia is killing a lot of things in this society because things are so easily manipulated or can be easily created, especially with the concept of AI now, that we it's hard for us to create new ideas and new concepts, and so we're constantly harking back to the days of old with Vince Carter and Jason Richardson and Andre Iguodala and Kobe Bryant and Dwight Howard and Nate Robinson, and we look back to these great performances in the dunk contest, and it does also take away from the performances now. And a great example was from this past weekend, Keshad Johnson, who did something that we all want from a slam dunk contest, and that is to make things exciting and have a little showmanship after each dunk. I'll never forget, Kenny Smith would talk about this, is that you have to get the crowd involved when you do the slam dunk contest, and you gotta, that's not a contest where you're too cool for school. You gotta embrace that moment, have some showmanship and some gamesmanship, and bring some excitement and flair. But you can't, after a dunk, you can't walk it off like you're too cool. And Keshad Johnson didn't do that. He would dance and kind of like get the crowd involved, and I actually like that because you need that. You need that in this event because it helps create, like we talked about, creates a kind of brand for yourself and a name for yourself, and it sets you apart. But like Dre said, nostalgia is killing the dunk contest also. If we continue to harken back to these older events, then we're never going to truly appreciate what we have in the moment. So, it's on us as viewers as well to appreciate the craft that we do have, but also understand that this is it's cyclical. We have phases and moments where the dunk contest is really great, and then it drops off, and then it kind of plateaus, and then it heightens again. This is just normal. This is a normal cadence for the NBA All-Star event. So I wouldn't put too much pressure on this, but there are changes that can be made. But I really like what Dre said. We can't be too nostalgic, lest we are unable to appreciate what's happening right now in the present and future. But we will definitely talk about this more on our podcast because Dre has so much insight and knowledge on this, and he's our basketball expert. But let me know what you guys think. Leave your thoughts in the comment section. Can the slam dunk contest be fixed? Should it be fixed? Should it be done away with? What were your thoughts overall on the All-Star weekend? Leave your thoughts in the comment section. We're looking forward to hearing all about it. But with that being said, guys, that is it for our show for today. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you haven't already, be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button as well, so you guys can stay up to date on all of our latest content that we post daily. And if you'd like to get exclusive content from us on Patreon, you can do so by clicking on the link in the description. We'll be back again on Friday, guys, with another show. Until then, continue to